Good morning. This is Schweitzer. This is a little answer sheet for basic factor label, how to set it up. Now, this is a factor label exercise, and it is essentially looking to experiment with, say, proportions in the form of factor label. Obviously, this is a recipe for a soup, and obviously in chemistry, we're not really all that interested in learning about different types of soups and recipes. We're more looking at how we set these problems up. Quite often I'll have students that will inquire about the answer to the question, and I will then restate the answer is less important than the work. If there's no work, then there's really no reason to do these problems. So make sure you focus on the work. All right, so now when we take this thing for a moment here, let's look at the first one. I'm not going to do all of these problems. I'm going to more or less just give you an opportunity to try to see how I set these problems up. Now, sometimes I call this the dot line method. Other teachers, Mrs. Jackson, for example, will use railroad tracks, but either way, it's always the same. I look at what I have, and I have I'm using Billy Bob uses 2 teaspoons of allspice, and wants to know how much soup he can make. All right, so in a sense here, okay, we have a recipe here in which I'm going to make all of these ingredients, and how much soup can I make? I can make 5 cups. All right, so now obviously when you're making this soup, you need more than allspice. So when I say I'm using 2 teaspoons of allspice, what I'm really saying here is that everything else, all the other ingredients, are in excess. And the limiting ingredient is allspice. And we're going to make 5 cups of soup. We're going to make soup until allspice runs out. All right, so, and I have 2 teaspoons of that. So before I get started, I got to be familiar with some of the conversions, and we might call these equivalencies. A half a teaspoon of allspice can give me equivalently 5 cups of soup, assuming I have everything else present. That's an equivalency. So it'd be 2 teaspoons of allspice, all right, per 5 cups of actually it's a half a teaspoon of allspice, all right, and it makes me 5 cups of soup. This is an equivalency that we will see, and there are lots of equivalencies. Of course, in an equivalency that the numerator equals the denominator, then really it's just 1, and it's a fraction of 1. Either way, so before I get started on this, I need to sort of create a plan, a mental plan, and this is the part that takes critical thought. And you decide, okay, I have teaspoons. I'm going to go from teaspoons, and I'm going to convert this thing from teaspoons of allspice, and I'm going to convert this thing to cups of soup. I have the equivalency. In fact, it's located right here. And I'm going to go right to cups of soup. Okay. So I have a plan. I'm just going to flip one unit to another unit. There you go. This is how I set this up. All right. First of all, I have 2 teaspoons of allspice. 2 teaspoons of allspice. And I'm going to dot line. I'm going to cancel units, and this is just a proportion, but a factor label is a way of doing proportions. I'm going to cancel out teaspoons down here, and I'm going to go to cups of soup. Now again, once you have this plan, every arrow is an equivalency. So once you have the plan, really anybody can do this. The plan is the part that takes work and mental task. You could hire a little 5th grader to do the rest of the work for you. It's all then just a matter of doing work. Teaspoons to cups. This equivalency is 0.5 teaspoons and then 5 cups of soup. At this point, I simply take 2 times 5 is 10. So I'll take all my top numbers and multiply. That's important. All my top numbers are going to be multiplied. All my bottom numbers will be divided. Okay? So 2 times 5 is 10. And then 10 divided by 0.5 is 20. Let's get a better 2 here. 20 cups of soup. All right? So again, this rest of this is just simply manual labor. The first part, setting up this pathway, is the part that you'll have to work on. All right, so let's do another one here. Okay, let's pick up. Oh, lost that guy there. Let's do it there, and all right, pick a different one here. So again, they're all kind of the similar. Let's do number 5. Billy Bob could only find 11 ounces of pureed tomatoes. How many cups of soup can he make? So again, I have 11 ounces of soup, and I'm going to go from ounces of soup. Okay, where can I go? Well, my recipe up here says, and this is my stack of equivalencies, all right, it says that we can get ounces of soup. All right, it says here that 28 ounces of soup will give me my 5 cups of 28 ounces of pureed tomatoes gives me my 5 cups of soup. All right, so let's go ahead and drag this down here. So I can just go right from ounces of soup directly to, in this case, cups of tomatoes. So I only have one step. The great thing about factor label is I can do several steps. All right, so I have 11 ounces of soup, and this is the part that is just manual labor. Dot line, what unit has to go on the bottom? Ounces of soup. All right, and then I'm going to go to cups of ounces of tomatoes, cups of soup, and it's going to be 28 ounces to 1 cup of soup. Again, this is 5 cups of soup. Now again, this is just an equivalency. Again, 5 cups of soup equivalent to 28 pureed ounces of tomatoes. How much soup can you make? It's just a relationship. It doesn't mean anything. So this is going to be 11 times 5 divided by 28, and this is my answer. And again, I am not worried about answers, so I'm not even going to put my answer in there. All right, the next one, okay, let's go down here. This one has some volume conversions here. All it means is we're going to have additional steps. All right, so this one says I have 6 milliliters of celery salt. So I have milliliters of celery salt, and I want to get to cups of soup. All right. All right, and this is the part that it takes work. I go and say, okay, well, if I'm using celery salt, and in this situation here, get back up here. All right. What is my celery salt recipe? It says here that a half a teaspoon of celery salt gives me my 5 cups of soup. All right, so I got that. That's one equivalency. So I'll put over here 0.5 teaspoons, all right, is equivalent to 5 cups of soup. And then, all right, but I'm not in teaspoons. I have milliliters. So I'm going to go from milliliters to teaspoons. Now, I'd like to do that in one conversion. And is it available here? Milliliters to teaspoons. Here it is. To tablespoon. Here we go. Milliliters to teaspoons. That's what I'm going to use. All right. So now once I'm in teaspoons, I can flip right to cups of soup. Not cups in general, cups of soup. That's my pathway. The rest of it is manual labor. So 6 milliliters. Again, I use dot line, but you could also go like this. And sometimes we might do it like this. All right. Milliliters goes on the bottom, and teaspoons goes on top. Teaspoons on the bottom, and cups on top. All right, and then this is just my set of equivalencies. Teaspoons and milliliters. Because I have my units in here, I know that the teaspoons is gonna get a 1. So this goes 1 here, and the 5 goes to the milliliters. The most common error in this setup is to reverse these two numbers here. and that will give you an answer that's way off, so be aware of that. All right, so the teaspoons to cups, it's 0.5 teaspoons, equivalent to 5 cups of soup. All right, and then we do our math. All right, so 6 times divided by 5 times 5 is just 6, divided by 0.5, so it's going to be 6 divided by 0.5, and that looks to me like 12. 12 cups of soup. Okay. All right, so there we go. That's an example of that. And I used 2 steps, but again, once I got my conversion set up, it's just a matter of running through the motions on that thing. All right, so let's try the next page here. See that pops? Thank you very much, and it does. Okay, good. So here we go. Now, this one, I'm just going to walk through the process here and see if we can figure the pathway out. Once we figure the pathway out, we're good to go here. So it's telling me that I want to get, okay, in this case, I have 3 kilograms of soup. How much salt do I need? Okay. All right, well, first of all, I'm in kilograms. And I have 3 kilograms of this guy. All right, what's my pathway? Well, first things first, I'm going to back up and see what do I got for salt on this thing? What do I need for salt? All right. All right, so my original here says a half a teaspoon of salt, all right, is what's required for 5 cups of soup. All right, so that's in teaspoons of salt. All right, so I need to get to teaspoons of salt. Now here, all right, they're giving me salt right here. 21 grams of salt is equivalent to 1 tablespoon. Okay, so I want to be able to flip this to a volume, mass to volume, but this is in kilograms. So I'm going to go to grams. That's a standard metric conversion. One of those is 1,000 of these. Then, all right, so it's 1 to 1,000. That's that one. Grams to tablespoons. All right, this is 21.5 to 1. All right, tablespoons, I'm going to go right to teaspoons. That is on the previous page. I'm going to teaspoons because my recipe asked for teaspoons. All right, and that's going to be, well, just see, it's on the previous page, but it's going to be 1 tablespoon is 3 teaspoons. It's on the second one below. It's also, if you cook it all, you might know that. Teaspoons is going to go right to cups of soup. That was my original recipe. All right, and this is going to be 0.5 teaspoons is equivalent to 5 cups of soup. All right. Again, at this point, I would just set it up as follows. All right. The rest of it's manual labor. I've looked through my equivalencies and just linked one to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. I have to have a conversion from here to here, here to here, here to here to get my way through. All right. So it's going to be 3 kilograms dot line. Kilograms must cancel, so it goes in the bottom. And I'm going to go to grams dot line. Get rid of grams and go to tablespoons. Dot line. Get rid of tablespoons and go to teaspoons. Get rid of teaspoons and go to cups of soup. I have all the equivalents you put right here. 1 kilogram is equivalent to 1,000 grams. In this case, this guy is saying 21.5 grams. 21.5 grams is 1 tablespoon. 3 teaspoons is 1 tablespoon. And 0.5 teaspoons is equivalent to 5 cups. And again, this is pretty long, okay? And in fact, I have one more step here. It wants it in grams. All right, so I'm going to do, maybe erase this here. I can do that. There we go. One more step. It wanted me to go from cups into grams of cups. This is getting a little excessive here, but we'll go with it. All right, get rid of cups and go to grams of soup. All right, and in this case, it says right here that 1 cup of soup is equivalent to 567 grams. 567 grams. So you take 3 times 1,000, divide by 21.5 times 3 times 5, divide by 0.5 times 567, enter, and that is your answer in grams of soup. All right, that's a brief introduction and setting them up. Again, the answer is less important than the work. Thank you very much.